and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the H&H Sports Podcast. I'm Tanner Hicks, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jackson Huey. And we are back with the standings predictions like we promised last week. We're back with the standings predictions. Last week, as you guys know, we did the ACC. This week, we're doing the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is a very, very interesting conference. In the coming future, at least it will be, as this is the last year for USC and UCLA, both of them in the conference. They're moving to the Big Ten next year. Is that correct?
That is.
And I saw a thing that they're like all their recruiting like photo shoots or they have the Big Ten patch already on. So USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten next year. Last year in the Pac-12. It should be an interesting year for the Pac-12, I will say. But enough talking. Let's get to the predictions. That's what everybody's here for. That's what we're here for. Now, considering it is called the Pac-12, there are 12 teams in the Pac-12, believe it or not. So we're going to start at the 12 spot. Jackson, you always have the honor to go first on these. So
at the 12 spot, I have Stanford at 3-9.
I have them at 2-10. I have them there.
Yeah, I got them sneaking up winning one more game than they're projected to.
Stanford's really bad. They're
and
really bad.
They got a new coach, so I think it's going to take some time. But
they're horrible.
Stanford's horrible. Yeah,
it's hard to be worse than they were last year, but they've somehow found a way. They're only returning 6 guys. They only bring in 4 transfers, which is the 75th best transfer class in the nation, and they lose guys like Tanner McKee and Michael Wilson to the draft, and a lot of other guys transferred out of there too. They have the 8th best recruiting class in the conference and the 45th best class in the entire nation. They are really, and they bring in Troy Taylor as their head coach. I forget where he came from, but he replaced David Shaw, who resigned. Stanford's really bad. This team is like as bad as a group of as bad as a Power 5 team could get. They're horrible, and that's my take. They're gonna win. They're gonna beat the 2 FCS teams that they play, and then they're gonna go 0-9 in conference play. Do you remember last year when I picked Stanford to upset USC in that one game? Yeah, Stanford's bad. That's my analysis on that. They're really bad. The 11 spot. Who's your 11?
This is going to blow your mind, maybe. In the 11th spot, I have Colorado.
Okay, I don't have them too far. It is surprising from you because you were kind of talking them up after they got Dion in December.
Yeah, I was. But I just think their schedule, it's a gauntlet.
What was I saying?
It's a gauntlet.
I said at most 6. At most they squeak into a bowl game. At most.
Yeah, I have them at 3-9.
Damn. 3-9.
They can't be much worse than last year, but I gotta see Dion prove it, man. I'm not doubting him.
He may coach on one foot.
Yeah, I think he can. I think he can make that program really good. I do. I just think it's gonna. I don't know how well with the whole team transferred out.
They did, but they they did bring in the number 1 transfer class.
They did, yeah, they did.
So, we saw that with Ole Miss last year, and that didn't really work out.
Yeah, I just gotta see it translate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I have them a little better, but it's not like,
Yeah,
we're butting heads on this one.
Yeah, I did these like 3 or 4 times, and it was like every time I was like, dang, I wish I could have them better than that, but I just don't.
I have them getting a couple of upsets because I think that team is so talented, just raw talent.
Yeah, I expect them to win a game or 2. They're not supposed to, but I don't have them here. But I think they will win a game or 2. They're not supposed to.
I took that. It's a consideration. It may not be the right upset, but I think they'll go on the road and maybe win a game or 2. They'll squeak out just because they're so talented.
Like their first 2 games are tough. Like even I think them in the Nebraska games is tough. Like even at home, I think that's a tough game for them.
Yeah, it's like this would be a big prove it schedule for Dion. Even in year 1, all eyes are on him in year 1.
At TCU is going to be tough too. I mean,
I'll get to them wherever I have them. At 11, I have Arizona, the Wildcats of Arizona. At 4-8, at the 11th spot, they bring back half their starters. They bring back 11 starters. They bring in 7 transfers, the 51st best transfer class. They bring in Justin Flo from Oregon, who's a pretty good off-ball linebacker himself. They bring in let me see if I can say this name right. Montana Lamonius Craig from Colorado. What a name. And they lose their best receiver in Dorian Singer and Christian Roland Wallace to USC transfer portal. 6th best recruiting class in the Pac-12. 38th best recruiting class in the entire country. Arizona, they're just a team. You know, they're a team. I'll say it. They're a team. That's all I got for you. Their quarterback he may be pretty good this year. Their quarterback, I mean, both his top 2 receivers are gone from last year, so maybe not. But the quarterback from last year is still there, so maybe their quarterback will do a little something. But they're winning 4 games. I have, so maybe not.
I have them at my 10 at 4-8 too. So
we jump right into 10. You have
they're just not. They're just about Arizona. They're just not a good football team. I mean,
they're good at that. You know, if there's one thing Arizona's good at is being bad at football. They're decent at basketball every year, but
they're better than Stanford.
That's like bare minimum if you're a Power 5 team. Arizona did go 0-12 in themselves a couple of years ago. I think it was the COVID year. They went 0-something. They didn't win a game. Jumping to 10, you said you have Arizona. I have
Arizona here.
I have the Cal Golden Bears. Now, Cal, their biggest thing is, they're returning 18 guys from last year. They were bad. So it's like the thing with
they were bad.
What team in the SEC last year returned a lot of guys? Vanderbilt.
Ole Miss? No, it was Vanderbilt. Yeah.
They returned like almost all the whole team. They improved. We predicted them to upset Tennessee in the last week of the year to make a bowl game, but that obviously didn't happen. They improved obviously, but you know, if you're returning guys from a bad team, it's like, what do you expect? They're going to be bad again. Cal, they return 18 starters, the most in the Pac-12. They bring in 10 transfers, the 17th best transfer class in the entire country. 12th best, the last class ranked in the Pac-12, and the 78th best class in the entire country. They don't bring in much as far as recruits go, but they bring in a little bit as far as transfers go. Now, Cal is always going to be a cool little transfer destination because it is, you know, California. That does lure a lot of people. They'll be decent. I had them at like my original. I had a rough draft for this one. I had them going 2-10 with.
Yeah, Stanford. I had them way down there at one point, and I was like, no, they're going to be better than that.
I see all these like all the, like the factors I just named off, and I'm like, gonna be a little better just because they're a seasoned football team, right?
Right.
But still, 5-7 isn't really respectable.
Yeah, I think a bowl game is their absolute ceiling. I really don't expect them to get there.
I could see maybe 7 games, maybe 7 games.
They're gonna need a lot of help. Like, they're not my 9, but they're going to need a lot of help. They're going to need to sneak up and win a couple, like at least a big time game to even have a chance at a bowl game.
Yeah, Cal's not great. They're all right.
And their schedule doesn't do them any favors. I was looking at it. It doesn't.
Yeah, they're okay. That's all I have to say about Cal. At 9, who's your 9?
At 9, I have Arizona State at 3-9.
Wow, that's surprising. That is surprising me.
Yeah, it is.
I have them a lot better.
It is a little bit, but I just think it's going to take time. I like
3-9.
Yeah,
I know they have a new coach, but dog, that's crazy.
I think, but I do think this.
They brought in the second most transfers in the country.
I hear you.
Is that why you have them so bad?
Yeah, part of it.
You coach all these transfers.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. And but I do think this team could be sneakily very good late in the season. Like when they play Oregon or when they play I don't know who else. I forget who else they play late in the season, but they could be. I think they could be sneakily very good and possibly upset somebody late in the season.
They usually do that. They're usually good for at least one upset a
Yeah.
year. This is where I have Colorado. Now, Colorado has been probably the darling of the offseason, I guess you could say, in college football. They only bring back 9 guys from last year, but they bring in 28 transfers. Obviously the best transfer class in the nation. They bring in Travis Hunter, former first overall recruit, Shadur Sanders, Deion Sun, and Demoy Kennedy from Alabama, who's a inside linebacker. They did lose Jordan Tyson and Montana Lamonius Craig, as I mentioned earlier. But they did have, as far as like recruiting. I mean, they did all right. They brought in the 29th best class in the entire country, 5th best in the Pac-12. In a couple years, if Deion stays, this team's going to be scary. Just because guys are just going to go because it's Deion.
Yeah.
And he's already proved that. He's already proved that.
It's like Penny Hardaway. I mean,
he just has that lure for some guys. And I have them going 5-7. Like I said, they're going to win a couple games that they shouldn't win because the team is just so talented. Just like off raw talent alone, the team is just.
Yeah, I agree.
They'll win a couple games they shouldn't win.
Another thing I factored in is, I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but I'm not. I got to see Shadur Sanders at the FBS level.
Dude, his first game is on the road in TCU. That's just going to be a huge wake up call for him.
Compared to what he's been playing.
Welcome to the FBS. You have to play at TCU week 1, who just made the national championship last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he can't be good. Don't get me wrong.
They'll be good in a couple of years.
I'm just saying I have to see it. You know what I'm saying? Because he played at Jackson State. I mean, there's not much competition down there. Let's be real.
I think obviously we have to see if Deion is actually a good coach. I mean, he's a decent coach at least, or else kids wouldn't.
Let's just be clear. 3, 4, 5 wins is a massive positive for Colorado this year.
I know that pretty much everyone on the team is new. Wasn't there last year? Deion brings in this whole new coaching staff. Everybody's got to get accustomed to everybody. It's like LSU from last year. Although I don't think Colorado's just going to have this crazy season that LSU had last year, where they had a chance to make the national championship with all that turnover that they had last year. I don't think that's going to happen because just Deion Sanders isn't Brian Kelly.
Right.
It's just I like you said, we need to see it. We need to see it from a lot of guys.
Yeah,
the only thing
I need to see it from Travis Hunter.
I was about to say the only person I trust who would be good is Travis Hunter. That guy's a freak. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be good.
I think he's gonna be good, but I still need to see it.
Yeah, we do. He's only played against FCS competition so far.
And he's gonna play both sides. That's gonna be tough too.
Yeah, what is he? Is he a corner or is he a receiver?
He plays both.
Like primary.
I don't really know. I think he's a corner primary.
I think I remember he was like a corner because he committed to Florida State at first.
Yeah, I think he's a primary corner.
Anyway, Colorado is going to be the team to look at throughout the season just because of the lure of Deion Sanders. The 8th spot. Who's your 8?
At 8, I have Cal.
Okay.
I have him at 4-8. I think this team. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. They're going to be a little bit better. And I wanted to put them at 5 wins, but I just couldn't find a 5th win.
The Pac-12 usually is like pretty chaotic throughout the entire season. It's like it's pretty chaotic. There's no real like things you can rely on in the Pac-12. There's no like, hey, this team's always going to be bad except for, Arizona. There's no team that's always just going to be bad. There's no there's a handful of teams that are always going to be good, but there's no just like, cookie cutter way to describe the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is probably the most chaotic conference in the in the nation, probably besides the Big Ten. It's just a lot of things happen in the Pac-12, so a lot of things can factor into how many wins each team gets. This is where I have Wazoo, Washington State. I think I have them going 6-6. What is his name? It hit the quarterback.
Who? Washington State?
Yeah.
Ward. Cameron Ward.
Cameron Ward showed flashes last year. Wasn't necessarily crazy as like he was at I'm forgetting everything. His Incarnate Word. Like he was at Incarnate. He threw like 60 plus touchdowns. He transfers to Wazoo. He was all right. He was cool. I need to see it from him this year. For them to, just make a bowl game. They were respectable last year. They returned 11 guys. They only bring in 6 transfers. They lose Dion Henley and Dejon Stribling to the draft. Dejon Stribling was a transfer. He transferred to Oklahoma State, but they lose Dion Henley to the draft, their best defender. They have the second to last recruiting class in the Pac-12 and 63rd best class in the entire nation. Now, Wazoo's not going to be this team that blows you away in the recruiting because it's Pullman, Washington. Nobody wants to play there. And they're one of these teams that, like, you don't ever expect them to be good. Like, when Mike Leach was there, probably, but you just don't expect them to be good most years, and then they do more with less. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I had them going 6-6. They're a respectable roster. They had a cool little 7 wins last year, made a bowl game. So I think they'll, be at least average again this year. It's 6-6. That's all I have to say.
See, I have them a little bit better, but I do have them at 7.
Yeah.
I have them at 8-4.
Oh.
So I got a gap in between my 8 and 7.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I mean,
you have the Pac-12 top heavy.
Yeah, they are top heavy in my predictions. But
So
yeah,
who's your 8?
My 8 was Cal.
Oh yeah. Duh. All right, 7. I'll let you go first. Who's 8-4 at the 7 spot in the Pac-12?
Washington State.
Oh yeah. I'm all over the place right now. Do you have anything to say about Washington State, or do I need to say my 7?
No, you pretty much hit it on. I mean, like you said, Cameron Ward showed flashes, and I mean their schedule's just they're 8-4 because my bottom half's so bad. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I have them at 8-4.
They beat all the teams they should beat.
Like it's probably like 8-4. It's probably like 7 or 8 wins for me. Is where I put them at.
7. This is where I have Oregon State. Lost my voice for some reason. Oregon State. This is where I have them. There's a lot of turnover for this Oregon State team. They bring back 11 or 13. They bring back 13 guys. They only bring in 5 transfers. But the biggest story for them in the offseason is bringing DJ Uiagalelei to the team and Mason Tufaga from Utah. But the main story is DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson. He struggled last year, to say the least. He struggled. Didn't live up to the hype he got back in the COVID year when he replaced Trevor Lawrence for that one game. Was absolutely sensational in that one game against a playoff team in Notre Dame. They did up losing that game, but he didn't live up to that hype. He transfers out of Clemson. Clemson gets a whole new offensive coaching staff. So DJ leaves, goes to Oregon State, where he's the primary focus of that offense. They lose Luke Musgrave to the draft. They lose Omar Speights to LSU. They lose JT Byrne to Cal. And then they bring in the 10th best class of the Pac-12, the 49th best class in the nation. The Pac-12 is not very good at recruiting, is what I've learned.
Yeah, no.
Studying for this episode, they're not very good at recruiting. You'd think the other way around because they're on the West Coast. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not hip, but Pac-12 isn't very good at recruiting. Oregon State, all I have to say is that they're a team. They bring in DJ. He's a cool little player, but I have them winning 6 games. They won, 10 last year, I think?
Yeah, they won 10.
So, yeah, I have them going 6-6 here. Maybe I'm wrong. They did. I think they had a top 10 defense last year. If that continues, maybe they keep, they stay on that hot streak that they started last year. But I have them winning 6 games.
Who's that? Your 7?
Yeah. The 6th spot.
In the 6th spot, I have UCLA at 8-4.
Okay.
I think UCLA is a good team. Obviously, they're going to replace Dorian Thompson. Is it Dorian Thompson Robinson? Is that his name?
DTR, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're going to replace him, and I don't really know who they have.
Malachi Moore.
That's you're right. I blanked. They
lost a lot of guys to the draft.
Yeah, they lost a lot, but I think they'll still be pretty solid.
I had them a little better. I'll touch them. I'll touch on them whenever I get to them in the rankings. But this is where I have Arizona State. I have them winning 7 games, so 4 whole wins more than what you had. Arizona State, I think they only returned 11 guys from last year, but they bring in 26 transfers, which is wild to me. I was like, what? Arizona State? New coach, Kenny Dillingham. I don't remember where he came from. Oregon.
Offensive coordinator, Oregon.
They bring in Jordan Tyson from Colorado. They bring in Drew Pine from Notre Dame. They lose Ladarius Henderson to Michigan, and they lose Daniel Nagata to UW. 7th best class in the Pac-12, 43rd in the entire nation. Like I said, Pac-12 is not very good at recruiting. But they bring in 26 transfers, and sometimes that could be a good thing because the Arizona State is kind of similar to very similar to Colorado. They're not getting as much media attention because it's not Deion Sanders, but they're very similar to Colorado in fact that it's so much roster turnover, so many transfers coming in, new head coach, new quarterback. Like all of this is like not the same at all from last year. Not the same. And I think it could be good. They're not getting as much media attention as Colorado, so there's not as much expectation, right? Colorado's got all the expectation in the world to at least show flashes this year. And Arizona State, I don't hear anybody talking about them. So I got them going 7-5. Arizona State's always going to be at least a respectable football team. And
yeah,
now that Herm Edwards is gone, put a little fire into these guys. Win 7 games. Finished in the top half of the Pac-12. Did you already say your 6?
I did. It was UCLA.
All right. 5th spot. Kind of rolling through these rankings here. 5th spot.
At 5, this is where I have Oregon State at 9-3.
All right.
I mean, I think they could. I really think they'd be solid. They, like you said, they got a lot of guys gone.
Mm-hmm.
But they bring back. They had one of the best offensive lines in the country, and they got their running game still there. And DJ, whether it's DJ or that Ben Goldbranson guy, he was good last year in Spencer Sanders' place.
Yep.
So whichever one of them is a starter, I think either one can lead that offense.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they had one of the best defenses in the country last year, so I'm expecting them to be somewhat of the same, I guess, and win 9 games.
I don't hate it.
And Oregon State. I feel like Oregon State's always got a decent football team. And they always win a game or 2 they're really not supposed to. I feel like kind of like Arizona State.
Team. Yeah, they're a gritty team. This is where I have
mouth football.
Yeah, this is where I have Oregon, not Oregon State. This is where I have Oregon. Oregon last year they were pretty good. I think they went 9-3, 8-4. I think around that range. Dan Lanning's first year.
I think it was 10. Hold on. Did they win 10 games last year?
They might have.
10-3. Yeah.
So coming off a 10-3 season, I have them going 9-3 in the regular season, finishing 5th in the Pac-12. They return 12 guys. They bring in 10 transfers, which ranks ninth in the country. It's about the weight of the transfers. They get a lot of high star transfers. They bring in Jordan Birch from South Carolina, Trayshawn Holden from Alabama, but they did lose a lot of star power in the offseason. They lost Christian Gonzalez, their best defender. They lost Noah Sewell. Both of those guys they lost to the draft. They lost Dante Thornton to Tennessee in the transfer portal, and they lost Justin Flo to Arizona, as I mentioned before. Both of their inside linebackers, uber talented inside linebackers, gone. But Oregon, them and USC are both always are going to recruit well. Second best class of the Pac-12, ninth best class in the entire nation. I think Oregon's always just going to be good. Because it's Oregon, it's a historic program. I think it'll be good. Bo Nix is back for his 7th year, and
that's a plus and a question mark in my opinion.
You think that's a question mark?
I mean, we've seen both sides of Bo Nix all his college career.
Yeah, offensive coordinator's gone.
Yeah,
Lenning's more of a defensive guy. What's going to happen with Bo Nix in his final year?
Yeah, because Bo Nix, we've seen even at Auburn, we've seen Bo Nix play great one game and not so great the next game. I mean, but if Bo Nix
more of the not so great at Auburn.
Yeah, but if Bo Nix can put it all together, if Bo Nix can put it all together and play consistently good, this team has a chance to be really good.
I think this is the year for him to do that because
Yeah, I do too.
I think he was really below average at Auburn. And his freshman year, he showed flashes. He was pretty good at in his freshman year. Last year, I thought that was his best year as a quarterback. Was getting Heisman hype at some point in the season, and then they kind of spiraled downward at the end of the year. But Oregon, they're always going to be a respectable football team. Always going to be at least an 8-win program. So I have them at 5. That's pretty much it. At 4. Top 4. This is where I have UCLA. I have them winning 9 games, 9-3.
I don't hate it.
UCLA is really talented. They did lose a lot of their, a lot of big hitters in the draft. They lose a lot of guys. They lost DTR. They lost John Gaines, their best offensive lineman, and they lost Zach Charbonnet, their best tailback. But they bring in Malachi Moore, number 1 quarterback recruit, to replace DTR, and they bring in Carson Steele, who ran for a lot of yards last year for Ball State, to replace Charbonnet.
I forgot he went there.
They bring back 11 guys from last year. They bring in 14 transfers, the 13th best transfer class, and 9th best. That is I don't know how these Pac-12 teams don't recruit well. They have the 9th best recruiting class, the Pac-12, 45th best class in the nation, UCLA.
UCLA? I would expect them to do better than that.
Surprising to me. But yeah, I think UCLA is going to be pretty good. Last year was their first good year under Chip Kelly. Beforehand, they were abysmal, terrible, really bad. But Chip Kelly turns over a new leaf here, UCLA. Have them going 9-3. Malachi Moore isn't as seasoned as DTR was, accustomed to that Chip Kelly system. But Malachi Moore is uber talented. He's the number 1 quarterback recruit this year for a reason. And I think, he surprised a lot of people. Wins 9 games in the Pac-12.
I got him at 8, so.
Respectable. Who's your 4?
My 4 is Washington at 9-3.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think this is a team that can challenge for the Pac-12 title.
I do as well. Washington's really good.
Don't get me wrong. But they have some games that are going to be tough to win.
I know. They play every good team in the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah, at Oregon's going to be hard.
I know.
It's hard to win at Oregon when Oregon's good. And then there's some other games that they're good. So I have them at 9-3, but I do think they can win the Pac-12. I mean, I do. There's a possibility. I'm not saying there's a world out there where Washington wins the Pac-12.
Yeah, they're that good. we can move on here. I could talk about my 3, which is Washington. Washington is really good. They have Penix, who led the nation in passing yards last year. A little comeback for him off that torn ACL when he was in Indiana, and he's back. So they bring back 14 guys. They only bring in 7 transfers, but they did bring in a good recruiting class, the 4th best class in the Pac-12, top 25 in the nation at 25th. And they bring in some good additions on offense. They bring in Dylan Johnson from Mississippi State, who's a uber talented receiving back, coming from that Mike Leach Mississippi State offense. And they bring in Jeremy Bernard from Michigan State receiver. So loading up on that offense, giving Michael Penix all the weapons he can work with, right? Is it Kalen Deber or DeBoer? You know how to say his name? The head coach?
Who? Oh, for
Kalen
Washington?
Deber? Yeah, DeBoer, whatever.
I don't know how to say his name.
Either way, their head coach surprised a lot of people with the amount of games that they won last year in his first year. He's going to come back this year. They're going to be better. And the only reason they don't win they don't make the title game for me is the tiebreaker for the teams above them.
Right.
All right, who's your 3? You say your 3?
At 3, I have Oregon.
Okay.
At 10-2.
I have them winning one less game.
Yeah.
It's just like it don't really matter as far as because that's when you like nitpick stuff. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they bring back, like you said, Bo Nix. They bring back the 2 running backs who rushed for 1,800 yards last year. And some other guys on offense. They have a hole in the offensive line. They bring in a Johnny Cornelius from Rhode Island, who I think is the best O-lineman in the portal. Was the best O-lineman in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Can't talk. But and they bring in Junior Angilu.
I know who you're talking about.
From Texas.
Yeah.
I apologize for saying that name wrong, but like you said, Tez Johnson from Troy, Trayshawn Holden from Alabama. Those are guys that probably will step in and have to play a role. And Dan Lanny's going to have a good defense. I mean, so I think they can win 10 games.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
And Will Stein also did some pretty good things at UTSA. Not saying it can translate over, but giving him a veteran and Bo Nix will be helpful. And 2 veteran running backs too.
Oregon's just going to be good.
Oregon's always going to be good.
Yep.
And they play a lot of games at home. But they play a lot of games at home. And like I said, Oregon's hard to beat at home when they're good.
I know. They're probably going to win all their games at home like they usually do. Top 2, Pac-12. Well, we both have the same. It's no surprise here.
Yeah, no surprise here.
What's the order? Like, who wins the Pac-12 for you?
The championship game or just the regular season?
In the regular season, who's your 1?
I wanted USC.
Me too. I thought
that's lame.
I wanted to put Utah here as like a, they're gonna three-peat, but I don't know. USC is really, really good, really good. I said on record last year. No, I thought USC was gonna be good, but I was like maybe they don't, aren't as good as because all Lincoln Riley comes in, whatever. I wanted to put them in the playoff in our playoff predicting last year. But I put in Notre Dame instead. What a great move.
At 2 I have Utah. At 10-2.
I have them at 10-2 as well. At number 2. The only reason Washington didn't make the title game for me was because I had Utah beating Washington in the regular season.
That's why Oregon didn't make it for me, because I had Utah beating Oregon.
Yep. There's a lot of all the good teams play each other.
Yeah, but I have I think I have Utah losing to, because I noted these because I wanted to note it. I had Utah losing to Baylor in week 2 because it's at Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had them losing at USC in week 8.
I have them losing to UCLA in week 4 and USC in week 8.
Yeah, so I mean,
So it's just really like you just nitpick who you want them to lose to.
yeah, and then USC, I have them at 1 at 11-1. Their one loss coming on the road at Oregon.
Who do I have? I have them winning. I have them going 10-2. But they're 8-1 conference, so that means I have them losing to Notre Dame.
That's not a conference game.
On the road. That's what I'm saying. They're 8-1 conference.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
And I have them losing to.
I have them beating Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's gonna be good though.
I have them losing to UW at home.
Yeah.
Is their one conference loss.
My Pac-12 champion for the championship game is USC. I think USC. This is the year USC gets it done.
I have Utah three-peats. What's his
and
name?
I want to go on records. I want to go on record since I forgot in the last episode and say my ACC championship game winner is Florida State.
No, yeah, Cam Rising going to three-peat as a Pac-12 champion. Three-peat. It's just a cool story.
I wonder if he's going to be ready to go week 1.
I think he should be. There's a lot of time until then. 3 months.
Yeah, they were saying
2.5.
They're saying it looks like he is, but
yeah, it sucks that he went down. But Utah is always just going to be this gritty football team. You know, do you believe that I have them beating Florida week 1? Do you believe it?
At home?
Yeah, at home. I will say I won't be as high on Florida.
Utah brings back a lot. They bring back 14 total starters.
Yeah, Utah's really good. Like I can go over there. I forget Utah. They bring back 14 guys. They only bring in 5 transfers, but they bring in a good recruiting class. 3rd in the Pac-12, 21st in the entire country. They did lose Dalton Kincaid, their best offensive weapon, and they lose Clark Phillips to the draft. But they bring in Miles Battle from Ole Miss, and they bring in Logan Fano from BYU. So they're going to be a good team. They bring back most of their guys. They have Cameron Rising at the helm. They still have Kyle Whittingham, the GOAT, looking for a 3-peat in the Pac-12. And I have them 3-peat. I know they have them finishing 2nd, but they're going to squeak one out again in the Pac-12 title game. USC disappointed.
It wouldn't surprise me. I had them in the playoff last year.
You did. You did. The playoff predictions are going to be weird this year because we're going to have all of the conference standings together.
Just wait till next year when we got to put 12 teams in it.
Oh dear, that's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be easier though because you just put all the conference champions in it.
Yeah, the content for that is going to be immaculate. We're going to have so much to talk about. Good Lord. Especially in season. You think about it? All the stuff that we have to talk about in season in 2024. Because it's like there's no more we could segue to that. I think we're done with the predictions here. I mean, unless we talk about USC, why we think USC is going to finish
really big
first.
To talk about USC finishing first, it's obvious.
They're just the best team. They have the best recruiting class in the Pac-12.
They have the Heisman Trophy winner coming back at quarterback.
8th best class in the entire country. Bring back 14
That didn't help
guys.
Alabama win the SEC last year, but
they bring.
This isn't. Luckily for them, this is not the SEC.
Luckily for them, Lincoln Riley was scared to go to the SEC. That's why he went to USC. They bring in 12 transfers, 4th best transfer class in the country. They lose Jordan Addison. They lose Tui Pilotu. I think I said that right. I'm proud of myself. The USC is just good. They're the best team in the conference, in my opinion. They have probably the best quarterback prospect I've seen since Trevor Lawrence in Caleb Williams. Probably the clear-cut number 1 overall pick unless something drastic happens. And they're just going to finish the best. They have a tied as far as records go with Utah here. But I have them finishing as a better conference record. Now we can segue to talking about this.
Yeah, I could see them losing that Notre Dame game too, though, since it's in South Bend.
Yeah, it's hard to win at. That's why I had them losing there. It won't really affect them unless they have 2 losses up to that point.
Yeah, if they lose there and then lose at Oregon in week 11, that might hurt their playoff. I don't know.
Yeah, do they make the playoff with 2 losses? It just depends on the field. Like if they win the Pac-12 with 2 losses, it just depends on the field. And next year, yeah, but
let's just hope that defense is a little bit better than last year, because that was abysmal last year.
It was very bad. Kept them from going to the playoff.
It did.
It was very, very bad. But Lincoln Riley knows how to not play defense. But like the next year when the playoff
didn't they lose to Tulane too?
USC?
No, who did Tulane play in the bowl game?
Oh yeah, they lost to Tulane.
Yeah, they did lose to Tulane.
Yeah. Dude, that was a crazy bowl game. They lost on like the bobble catch at the end, and they blew like a 14-point lead in like 5 minutes. That was something.
Remind you of anything?
Unfortunately. What was I gonna say? Oh, we're talking about the playoff expansion in 2024. Dude, that just be so much to talk about next season, man. Like in season, maybe not so much, because like only 4 teams. This is the last season where only 4 teams can get in, and there's so many possible scenarios that we could talk about. Like so many possible teams that could get in. This could happen. This team could get in. This happened. This team can get in. Maybe for like the 12 spot. You know what I mean? Can multiple group of 5 teams make the playoff next year? Because if it happened last year, Tulane's in the playoff. Probably, I would have to say. And then, was there really just an uber good group of 5 team last year? I mean, I can look it up. UTSA won 10 games. Like,
I'm trying to think.
So Tulane finished 9th. Troy finished 19th with 12 wins. But that was about it. Like Tulane was like the only one. I think Tulane probably does that again this year.
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, there's gonna be so much to talk about next year, man. There's like just so many possible scenarios. Like, can 2 group of 5 teams make it? Will it surprise everyone and no group of 5 teams make it? Who knows, man? But yeah, that was our Pac-12 standings predictions. A lot of things can happen in the Pac-12. It's a sneaky, underrated, like chaotic conference, because like now that there's no divisions in most of these conferences now, like every team plays each other. There's no like division like restrictions or anything. So every team plays each other now. The 2 best meet up in the conference title game. A lot of chaos just happening in college football in general, not just the Pac-12 and any other conference. I can't wait for the season, man. I cannot wait for the season. This always happens where we just we get stuck in the middle of the off season. We're just dying for the season to start. But yeah, next week, let me see what who we're predicting next week.
I think it was the Big 12, but I could be wrong.
I'm excited for that. The Big 12 is next week, and then we got the Big 10, then the American, then the SEC, and then we move on to the NFL. I'm excited. Great episode this week. Excited for next week at Big 12 because we have like BYU, Houston, UCF, all the new guys coming in. I'm excited for that. We appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and turn on post notifications so you guys never miss an episode. We're uploading clips from the podcast episodes now, so you better click that post notification so you guys don't miss the little clips that we put up. So subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, turn on post notifications. Follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts, wherever you guys listen to your podcast, we're everywhere. And we will see you guys back next week, hopefully. Maybe we'll bring back, live streaming. Be back H&H Live. Hopefully by next week. We'll see you guys next week. We appreciate you guys listening.